I was such an internet kid. The internet is really what I claim as my home. Like, if you ask me where I'm from, I say the internet. Because I was just online every day, doing my schoolwork, making songs, making a video, being a YouTuber, content creator, posting TikToks, posting on Instagram. Like, that's really my neighborhood was Instagram, and the society was the internet. You know what I'm saying?
We're taking a look at the Tesla timeline. Brand new details being revealed in the death investigation of Celeste Rivas Hernandez. And singer David's house is searched for evidence as the mystery of how the teen girl's body got into the singer's trunk continues. Plus, a cold case cracked wide open, a new suspect linked to the yogurt shop murders. This coming more than 30 years later. And Ellen Greenberg and her fiance, could the 911 call tip the scales of justice in the teacher's mysterious death? It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Tuesday morning to you. Welcome to Opening Statements, my friends. I'm Julie Grant, and this is a show where we get you all warmed up and ready to go for the big day ahead on Court TV Live. We're going to kick it off as we always do. We've got a great show planned with great guests. Grab that cup of coffee right now. It's time for my opening statement. Agatha Christie famously said, "One coincidence is just a coincidence. Two coincidences are a clue. And three coincidences are proof." So let's talk about the coincidences in the case of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, found dead in the trunk of singer David's abandoned Tesla. Her mother confirms that she had a boyfriend named David. David wrote an unreleased song titled Celeste. Both David and Celeste have a tattoo, same exact one, of the word shh on their right index fingers. Now, although David lived in Los Angeles, there is a photo of him less than a half a mile from the home that Celeste ran away from. And in his music video for his song One More Dance, which was released just in February, David is dragging a body and hiding it in a trunk. So are all those coincidences a proof, as Agatha Christie calls it? Well, TMZ is reporting that friends of David's have confirmed to them that David and Celeste were in fact in a romantic relationship. And these friends also say to TMZ that they thought that she was 19. Nope. How about 14? She was 14 when she was killed. That is a minor child. And it's possible that she met David when she was even younger than that, possibly 12 or 13. Now, just based on that information alone, David Burke better hire a very good lawyer. And if he killed Celeste Rivas Hernandez, or if he hid her dead body in his Tesla, he better pray that Johnny Cochran and F. Lee Bailey come back from the dead, because he is gonna need them. That's my opening statement. Let me know if you like it. Right now, it's time for your daily docket.
So you push the baby, you sleep the baby. How close was you to the water when you pushed it?
In Tennessee, we've got the defense case in the Baby in the River murder trial for Brandon Isabel. It resumes later this morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. In Florida, we've got opening statements kicking off in our newest trial for you. This is against Deputy Leslie Bolio. He's charged with manslaughter after investigators say that he shot his girlfriend in the head in what he describes as a sloppy, alcohol-fueled gun training session. Court's going to get underway at 8:15 a.m. Eastern on that one. And also in Florida, we've got the state's case continuing in the scattered remains murder trial for defendant Daniel Stearns. That one kicks off at 9 a.m. Eastern. Right now, let's turn to your top story. The new details being revealed in the death investigation of teenager Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Reports say she was not pregnant at the time that she was found dead. Her body discovered in an abandoned Tesla registered to singer David. Now, investigators found the decomposing remains of Rivas Hernandez in the front truck of an impounded Tesla registered to David on September the 8th. Now, Celeste had been reported missing multiple times before ultimately being found dead. According to the LA Times, the 2023 Tesla registered to David Anthony Burke, known as he spells it D4vd, was ticketed by Los Angeles authorities on a Hollywood Hills street near where the singer lived 11 days before the decomposing body of a missing girl was found inside the trunk. The Tesla had been parked on Bluebird Avenue so long that some residents complained about it in late August, leading to the car being ticketed, according to law enforcement sources and records reviewed by the Times. Then in the afternoon of August 27th, a parking enforcement officer marked the Tesla, noting the portion of its tires. Then on September the 3rd, the officer issued a citation to the Tesla for violating the 72-hour parking ordinance. 2 days later, the Tesla was impounded and towed to the Hollywood tow yard. But it would be another 3 days until the grim truth emerged. Now, the LAPD has not named any suspects. So let's be very clear. David, the singer, has not been named as a suspect. So what does the timeline tell us about David in this case? Let's bring in our guests. I have with me board-certified forensic pathologist Dr. Priya Banerjee, private investigator Manuel Gomez, and retired FBI special agent Jennifer Coffindaffer. Good morning to you all. So let's start with the Tesla information and the evidence gathered that investigators believe that she was dead for a while in the back of this Tesla. And it wasn't until it was at the tow yard that somebody at the tow yard smelled that stench. Let's talk about if there was a connection enough to hold David on any charges. Jen Coffindaffer, would you start us off with your thoughts, please?
Well, I believe at this point there just aren't. It seems very sketchy regarding how she died. What was her manner of death and cause of death, I should say? We don't know. She's been listed as a homicide, but homicide does not necessarily mean illegal. Now, this is the kicker. Obviously, putting a deceased body in a trunk is a crime. So it seems that they're having a hard time actually linking that crime to anyone.
Appreciate it, Jen. Dr. Priya Banerjee, we were wondering in our newsroom meeting yesterday when there would have been indications of this is a very unpleasant thing to talk about, but of the smell of the decomposing body of this young teenager, because we know it was on that street for a long time, as you know, and several neighbors were noticing things. Could you weigh in on that, please, Dr. Priya?
Right. So, I mean, a decomposing body is in the summer and then into early fall, I guess, is unpleasant. And she was also in a plastic bag, as I recall. So that's going to speed up the decomposition as well, because it's creating like a tight environment around the body. I'm surprised the smell didn't alert even scavenger animals or other passerbys. I think it's amazing when it was first ticketed, right, 72 hours prior to it being towed, even then no one noticed the smell. So it is quite unpleasant. It is rotting flesh, and I'm sorry to bring that up this early, but it is very distinct and should be concerning. You should be able to smell it even despite the plastic bag.
Sure, I really appreciate that insight, Dr. Priya. It's unpleasant, certainly, but this is a sad reality in the world we're living in this case, and for that young woman's family and everybody who loved her. Manuel Gomez, I want to go to you on something that we talked about the other day when we were getting your insights on this case, and we have some new information on it, and that is that Celeste Rivas Hernandez is not pregnant at the time of her death. That is one thing that was revealed by the LAPD yesterday, and it was something we all were wondering about. I'm curious your thoughts now having this fact, Manuel.
Well, I'm glad that she wasn't pregnant, but it doesn't change the fact that he was with her. There are multiple videos out there showing Celeste. Now, I've seen 3 of them, actually last night, that show Celeste being with him while he's filming music videos. There is more than ample evidence showing that this girl was with David. 1, the testimony from his friends. 2, video evidence out there. And 3, something that every woman knows. If you look at Celeste, her hair is full, and women shed their hair. So I'm surprised that they haven't arrested him for the child predator part, because clearly he is, okay? And look at the hair on her. You can't tell me there wasn't hair in the house. You can't tell me there wasn't hair in that Tesla. I mean, there's not one woman with, especially the hair like you, everywhere you go, you're gonna find hair coming out, okay?
Right.
I don't know why, but it's a fact. And why isn't he charged? I don't understand this.
Right.
At a minimum, as a child predator.
Right. That's a great point, Manuel. Yes, I agree with you. There would be enough there, especially if friends are confirming the relationship. If friends are saying they saw them together, know that they were romantically involved, even with her deceased, they could still charge him with that. Perhaps there's a rationale, but you make a great point about the hair. I mean, you've got 3 ladies with long hair on the banner. We know how it is. I mean, it's like I don't know. I shed like an animal, I think, around. And you're right. If she was in that house, I'm sure they could gather hair all over the place from her. Yeah, and they did, you know, search this house, which is, we're going to talk about that in our next segment very carefully. But let's talk about something else with this idea that she wasn't pregnant, but was in a relationship, according to friends who TMZ spoke with. So it's TMZ confirming this. They've done great work on the ground there. Dr. Priya, so the cause of, the cause of death is being listed as deferred. That's what they wrote right now on this pending report, waiting on the toxicology results. Dr. Priya, curious what you think about that, how revealing those results could be here.
This is going to be the hardest part of the case. Her decomposed body adds multiple layers of challenge to determine why she died, and was she killed, or was there an alternate cause of death? You know, was it a drug overdose gone wrong type thing, as one of the many possibilities? And I think the decomposition is very challenging. The deferred, I usually use pending further studies or pending investigation, whatever the verbiage is, just means they are looking into, they need more data. You know, and in a decomposed body, the toxicology is even more challenging. So that's going to take time, even if they try to expedite it. This is not a quick and dirty analysis. And I think the investigation will also play into that. So these are key pieces of information they're waiting before they can, you know, potentially come up with a cause of death. But, you know, in the back of my mind, I worried that, will they really be able to determine it? Will it be determined, or will it be undetermined due to the condition of her body?
Right, excellent points, Dr. Priya. I know there were some reports out there that she was dismembered. We at Court TV have been trying to confirm that. We have not been able to independently confirm that, but I have seen multiple outlets report that. Who knows? But I have to tell you, what you just said, it crossed my mind. I said it to Manuel the other day when I first saw this case. I thought, was this a drug overdose? Was this a drug overdose? Did people panic, hide the body? That was just, I think, the prosecutor in me. That's where my mind went. But we'll see. Dr. Priya Banerjee, we have to let you go. Thank you for your insights. We'll look forward to having you back soon. Jen Coffindaffer and Manuel Gomez are coming with us. Do the same at home, please. When we come back, we're continuing our deep dive into the death of Celeste Rivas Hernandez. We're talking about the search of singer David's home. What was turned up? And more than 30 years later, a man finally linked to the infamous yogurt shop murders.
We now have evidence linking a specific individual to this case, Robert Eugene Brashers. The only physical evidence located at that scene has been matched to him.
Covering the country's biggest trials before we bring you inside the courtroom. Plus, the true crime cases you want to know more about in our daily spotlight.
Opening statements with Julie Grant. Mornings at 8, 7 Central on Court TV.
I'm Vinny Politan. Welcome to Closing Arguments.
What's happening here?
It's unreal. Let me show you exactly what happened.
Closing Arguments with Vinny Politan. Tonight at 8, 7 Central. Only on Court TV.
Welcome back. Will the home of singer David reveal anything about the death of Celeste Rivas Hernandez? 3 weeks after the body of the missing teenage girl was found in the trunk of his Tesla, the singer remains a trending topic in the world of true crime. His real name is David Burke, and he has been cooperating with authorities who searched his Los Angeles home soon after they found the body of Celeste Rivas Hernandez in his trunk. Now, detectives reportedly removed a computer and other devices from his home. The home owner, because he was renting this big mansion in LA. The homeowner says that the house does have external security cameras. Now, we also know that David recently broke the lease. So this was after the search was done. He and his manager said, we are moving out of that rental home. Don't know where they are right now. But as for Rivas Hernandez's cause and manner of death, things are still unknown. According to reporting from ABC News, her death certificate lists the cause as deferred. That's what we were just discussing with Dr. Priya Banerjee. They're waiting on those toxicology results. Now, on Monday, investigators say it remains unclear whether there's any criminal culpability beyond the concealment of Celeste's body. Right? So it could have been an accidental death, right? Or it could have been an intentional killing. We just don't know at this point. But let's focus on the house and what we can expect to learn from the home. Let's bring back in private investigator Manuel Gomez, retired FBI special agent Jennifer Coffendaffer, and attorney Randolph Rice. Okay, Manuel, I want to start with you here. What do you think they could extract from this home? Clues. You mentioned the hair in our last block, if there is any, if she was there. What else?
Well, I would believe that there's other DNA that she would have there. The problem with this case is that, Julie, there's videos of him cleaning and scrubbing that house. And I've seen that online as well. So this guy went out of his way, and there's no doubt that's why the manager moved him out, and that's my professional opinion. And I just want to say one other thing that everybody is missing. When, Julie, you talked about him getting tickets on that car. When you look at the picture of every time they gave a ticket on that car was caked on with dirt. Let me say that again. There was caked on dirt all over those windshields, all over that car. That car was not there 11 days. To get that amount of dirt, that car was there at least 3 weeks. There's no doubt in my mind. I don't understand why we're not arresting this guy. The car was only a half a block from his home. I cannot understand this. It's baffling. But the one conclusion I can come to is California wants a slam dunk. And this is a case that's not a slam dunk. The only slam dunk is that he's a child predator.
Excellent points, Manuel. Agent Coffendaffer, let me ask you, please, while David is in another home at this time, we know he moved out, we know he canceled his tour. Do you think that he's being surveilled by law enforcement?
I think through his attorney, they're keeping track of him, if you will, but typically the LAPD is not going to expend the man hours for a 24-hour surveillance, which would be very intense. I did want to comment, though, Julie, if I may, about that house. Remember, they're going to be looking in drains, save for blood, things like that, more indicia of a crime actually occurring. In addition, I wanted to say, while there are so many clues that we have, and it's very obvious they had a relationship, there's no way to say they had a sexual relationship absent if we don't have photos of them together, if we don't have video of them sexually together, if we don't have their bodily fluids mixed together on sheets or something, or on the ground or something in that home, or without their discussions about their sexual relationship. And I think this has been part of the reason we don't see charges yet.
Oh, that's great analysis. Jen, thank you for that. Randolph Rice, you know I want to talk to you about charges. You were a former prosecutor. And here we have a lot of different facets to this, right? We don't know if we have a murder here. We we may have an accidental death here. We know that her body shouldn't have been in that trunk. Somebody abused her corpse, so we know that much. And according to friends who knew the couple, who spoke to TMZ, again, we have to credit TMZ with the great reporting, multiple friends knew them to be romantically involved, and we know that she was way too young to be involved with an adult. So tell me, Randolph, in terms of charging, do you think there should be any charges at this point, and why or why not?
Yeah, if I'm the prosecutor, I'm waiting. I really want, and I think the other guests have made some really good points about this, is that we really want a big picture and the best picture here before we start charging. Because remember, when you start charging somebody, the clock starts running. And if you don't get your ducks in a row, you don't have all the evidence, you could get in a jam with the court saying, hey, look, you got to go to trial. And if you say, I'm not really ready yet, then you're in big trouble. So I think they need to wait, get all the evidence before they make all the charges.
Yeah, that's a great point. The statute of limitation, the ticking begins. You know, the speedy trial. I mean, to say everything goes, and you have to. I mean, you could lose a case if things need to take more time. So that's a great point, Randolph. Thank you for that. Let's talk a bit about this guy's work as an artist, because, you know, we certainly don't want to accuse him of anything that he has not done, and he's created some things in his music life and incorporated homicide and blood and body hiding and things in some music videos, and again, that's his art. So in March of this past year, he sat down with the lifestyle magazine Mahogany, and in his interview he describes the visuals behind his videos, in particular one from his biggest hit. It's called Romantic Homicide. Take a listen.
I wanted to make my own manga series at one point, and I was writing a lot of poems and writing a lot of things for it. And a big part of that manga was an evil version of me named Itami, which means pain in Japanese. And he wears this blindfold, and he's basically an agent of chaos and kind of my alter ego. And the story of the manga went like I was a detective, and there was an evil version of myself that would kind of come out at random moments.
Okay, so is his artistry going to be at all problematic for him in this case? Jen Coffindeffer, I want to get your thoughts on that, looking at fact and then the fiction.
Well, when you look at the things he said, as you mentioned earlier in your opening statement, things start to pile up. The whole Hello Kitty obsession, the tattoos, all the photos together, and then, of course, the lyric in the Celeste, all of these songs that are so macabre and about murder, and then him discussing his alter ego. Yes, but I did research a case in Los Angeles where actually poetry was tried to be admitted regarding a murder, and it wasn't admitted. So there is some sort of legal distinction between your artistry and your writing and what you actually do. So I agree, to me this screams of involvement, but I don't know legally if it'll pass the smell test.
It's interesting, Jen. Yeah, and we've seen this come up before. I keep thinking of the YSL case. We heard about that, where they were trying to use the lyrics against Young Thug. It's come up. And if there is a valid question with it, what does that say? Randolph, I would love for you to weigh in legally if you think this is going to get problematic for this guy.
Oh, I think this is defense's motion in limine number one, which is a motion to exclude outside evidence that may bias or prejudice the jury if he ultimately does get charged. Because they're going to say this has nothing to do what the alleged facts are if he is charged, obviously. In this case, this is just an artist expressing himself in an artistic way and has no relationship to this case. So I think this is a first motion defense files to exclude any of this evidence.
Really great analysis. Randolph Rice, you are coming with us. Have to say a big thank you to our other guests. We have to let them go. Manuel Gomez, Jennifer Coffindeffer, thank you for the great information and analysis. We'll keep talking more about this case and report any updates we have. Still to come, though, for you here on Opening Statements. Here's what we've got.
I just really came here to say I'm full of gratitude. It has been so long, and all we ever wanted for this case was the truth.
Families finally getting justice this morning as police solve a decades-old case in Austin, Texas. A man is finally linked to the yogurt shop murders. Plus, What could tip the scales of justice in the mysterious death of Ellen Greenberg? We're taking a look at the 911 call made by her fiance. Caesar. Welcome back. This morning, our spotlight is on Austin, Texas, after a major breakthrough in the so-called yogurt shop murders. 14 girls were shot in the head, execution style, and the yogurt shop was then set on fire. The decades-old case recently rose to prominence after a new HBO Max documentary, The Yogurt Shop Murders. Now, after 34 years of waiting and wondering, a shocking revelation was just announced. Finally, some form of justice for the 4 young murder victims who were brutally killed. These children range in ages 13 to 17. They are 13-year-old Amy Ayers, 17-year-old Eliza Thomas, 17-year-old Jennifer Harbison, and Jennifer's 15-year-old sister, Sarah Harbison.
We now have evidence linking a specific individual to this case, Robert Eugene Brashers. The only physical evidence located at that scene has been matched to him. Brashers died by suicide in 1999 after a standoff with police in Missouri. And his DNA has since been, and before this connection, he has been connected to murders and rapes across the country.
Authorities said that new DNA technology is what did it. That technology was able to tie the case to Eugene Brashers. So let's talk about this. Let's bring in forensic death investigator and professor at Jacksonville State University, Joseph Scott Morgan, and longtime Austin, Texas criminal defense attorney, Sam Bassett. Good morning to you both. Sam, I want to begin with you, please. How big of a story was this, and is it still for the city of Austin?
It was a huge story in Austin. It dominated the news, certainly when the killings happened in the early 90s. It stayed in the background of everybody's mind for many years after. And then these 2 of the 4 suspects were tried in the late 90s, early 2000s, and then they were eventually set free because of this DNA profile that was unidentified at the scene that was found. And so everybody that grew up in my era, this case is probably the one case that dominates the most notorious Austin criminal cases of the 90s and early 2000s.
Boy, Sam, thank you for that. Professor Joe, I want to talk to you about what really broke the case, and it was one of these precious children who got some evidence, Amy, underneath Amy's fingernail, that DNA evidence. I want you to weigh in on that, please, Joe.
Yeah, isn't that amazing, Julie? Thanks for having me this morning. It's amazing she actually solved the case. Just think about that just for a second. You know, because what occurred relative to her death and those horrible moments leading up to her demise, there was actually trace evidence in the form of DNA beneath her fingernails. If you look down the long axis of your fingers and you think about them as kind of plows going through, you can touch skin, you can have this deposition beneath the fingernails, and that was there. And through forensic genetic genealogy, they were able to show this linkage. By the way, a tip of the cap to Austin PD and the other forensic people in this case, because, Julie, it would have been so easy to have lost this evidence early on, because this is biological evidence, very fragile. We're 30 years downrange now, and this was preserved these many years, just waiting for science to essentially catch up. At this point in time, we're seeing a lot of, I don't know if I want to call them miracles, but we're seeing things that certainly when I was a very young man working in forensics, I could never have fathomed that this type of thing could happen. But here we are now, and this is certainly a victory. It's very sad, but it's certainly a victory.
It sure is, Professor. Thank you for that. I've got a clip of Eliza's sister describing her family's loss.
Our families are still too small, still missing an essential ingredient, and we are lesser for it. We have been robbed of a life with nieces and nephews and grandchildren, and with sisters to grow old with. This sort of mindless violence continues to steal from all of us.
Oh, our hearts break for her and the other families. This was awful. These children were also sexually assaulted. This was just brutal. Not only were they killed, but investigators found evidence that really they had been tortured. They had been sexually violated. They were found nude and tied up. It's hard to even imagine how frightened they were. And in the effort to seek justice, we know that there were arrests made. There were good faith efforts to seek justice. One person was even on death row after having been convicted of being involved in this. Sam Bassett, of course, I want to ask you legally, what happens next? As we know, the Travis County DA told reporters on Monday that his office is supporting restitution for any of the men who were wrongly convicted here. What do you think, please?
Well, I think 2 of the 4 were actually incarcerated for up to 10 years before they were set free on bond when the DA's office found this other DNA profile. So Texas does have a statute that allows for compensation for wrongfully convicted individuals, but it requires a declaration by the courts of actual innocence. And that is something that probably should be forthcoming for the years that those young men were incarcerated. The fascinating piece of the cases were the 2 young men that were convicted and incarcerated had confessed in writing after hours of interrogation. And this is a lesson in people sometimes confess to things they didn't do. And it's counterintuitive to most people. But in this case, each of the 2 that served time in prison had written out confessions of being involved in these terrible crimes.
Boy, that's really something, Sam. You know, that's something that is familiar to what we call our courties, our wonderful Court TV audience. They've seen it in cases for the false confessions, right? It sounds like that might have been what occurred here.
It was the cornerstone of the prosecution's case in both of those trials, and the judge carefully was weighing his decision on allowing that in, because without those confessions, quote unquote, there would never have been a conviction and maybe not even a trial for either of those young men. And so it's just fascinating how it all evolved, and the appeals courts overturned because of a development in the law of confessions by the Supreme Court in a case called Crawford. And then they were set free, and everything was reevaluated at that point.
Wow, this is really fascinating. And with the reevaluation, came this brand new technology that 30 years ago we didn't have. Professor Joe, do you think that had we had the technology we have today, that maybe we wouldn't see this legal mess with people being tried who shouldn't have been tried, and the person who should have been held responsible, he died by suicide. He's long gone, and so there's no really holding him accountable for justice, but thank goodness he can't harm anybody else. Your thoughts, please.
Yeah, I think that this is a warning shot over the bow relative to prosecutors in the past and to police, perhaps. I think that, getting a coerced confession, you've got somebody under duress for a protracted period of time, and you elicit this statement from them and even compel them to write a confession is pretty amazing. Well, now, taking this technology and going back and folding back over time, you're going to hear more of these stories coming out. And to me, and not to diminish this quadruple homicide, that story is equally as big, I think, when you begin to think about it, because it shows that you can catch somebody and hold them responsible. And of course, in this case, they can't catch anybody. This guy's dead and gone, thank the Lord above. But you can set people free with this technology as well. So there is an upside to this, but people need to be aware of this. And I guarantee you, people in the prison system and defense attorneys everywhere, they're salivating over this technology right now.
Yes, a perfect point to end on. This is This is very helpful going forward for all the reasons you stated. We have to leave it there, but of course we're thinking about these victims, Amy, Eliza, Jennifer, and Sarah, and their families. Thank you both, Professor Joseph Scott Morgan, Attorney Sam Bassett. Appreciate the great conversation. We'll see you soon. And coming up next here on Opening Statements, we're talking about the mysterious death of Philadelphia school teacher Ellen Greenberg. This is back in the headlines thanks to a new documentary on Hulu. We're taking a look at the 911 call made by her fiance and asking, can this tip the scales as the investigation has been reopened?
My two best friends were just murdered.
Join me for a Court TV true crime series where we take you from the crime scene to the courtroom.
Donna Adelson hates every piece of grass that Dan Marcel ever walked on.
It's something that'll haunt all of us forever.
It always seemed like he was covering or deceiving.
This was a whole different level.
Victim to Verdict with Ted Rowlands. New episodes Saturday night, 8 Eastern and Pacific.
Only on Court TV.
Let's talk about what's tipping the scales of justice in the stabbing death of 27-year-old Ellen Greenberg. It's getting lots of attention now thanks to a brand new docuseries that just dropped on Hulu. Now, the 27-year-old school teacher was found dead in her Philadelphia apartment back in 2011. She had been stabbed some 20 times. And about 10 of those wounds were to the back of her body, the back of her neck, the back of her head, the top of her head. And initially, the case was determined to be a homicide, but then the medical examiner changed the manner of death to suicide. Her fiance at the time, Sam Goldberg, said that he came home from the gym and he found Ellen bloody and stabbed. He said he had to break the door down to get in. Let's take a listen to some of his 911 call. This is obtained by the podcast True Crime Garage TV.
Oh my God, she stabbed herself.
Where?
She fell in a knife. Oh no, her knife's sticking out.
What?
There's a knife sticking out of her heart.
Oh, she stabbed herself?
I guess so. I don't know where she fell on it. I don't know.
We should note that Sam Goldberg was never considered a suspect. He has never been charged in connection to Ellen Greenberg's death. And he did give a statement to CNN saying, quote, "When Ellen took her own life, it left me bewildered. She was a wonderful and kind person who had everything to live for in the years that have passed. I have had to endure the pathetic and despicable attempts to desecrate my reputation by creating a narrative that embraces lies, distortions, and falsehoods." So, can this new docuseries and heightened awareness tip the scales of justice and finally lead to some answers for the family? This case has been reopened after they civilly sued the city of Philadelphia. There's an upcoming hearing next month. Let's bring in the host of the Surviving the Survivor podcast, Joel Waldman. And I should say that Joel has been someone who's been following this case for a long, long time, really before it picked up traction in the true crime community. Joel, good morning to you. I understand you spoke with the director of the new docuseries. Tell us what you learned, please.
Yeah, her name is Nancy Schwartzman, a very accomplished documentarian, and she is the director of this three-part docuseries, The Death in Apartment 603, the story of Ellen Greenberg. And as you said, it debuted yesterday on Hulu, and I urge everyone to see this. Of all the stories, Julie, obviously you and I cover a lot of true crime stories. To me, this is the biggest travesty of justice. You mentioned that Sam Goldberg has never been named a suspect, and one of the reasons for that is the case has never, ever been investigated. She was found dead in her apartment in 2011. It was a very snowy nor'easter kind of night with a big snowstorm coming in. She was preparing a fruit salad. She had bags packed. She was apparently ready to leave the relationship, which is a fairly new bit of information that comes directly from her father, Josh Greenberg, who I've interviewed several times, more than several times, along with Ellen's mother, Sandy Greenberg. And this case just stinks to high heaven of corruption. The show is It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I say it's always shady in Philadelphia.
Joel, I want to back the truck up for just a moment because you just dropped some big new information for us. I want to go over it again. You said you spoke to Ellen's father, Josh Greenberg, who told you that she had her bags packed and was ready to leave the relationship with Sam Goldberg.
Yeah, that's something that a lot of people don't know. Apparently, she had at least one bag packed on her bed that day. She was preparing to leave the relationship. She also, we find out, had marks on her neck. And her father, again, Josh Greenberg, has been very vocal that he believes that she was actually choked to death and everything else was staged. And he has an independent medical examiner who's come out and said essentially the same thing. Now, they've been going through this since 2011. They spent over $600,000. Actually closer to $800,000, but were paid back $600,000 by the city of Philadelphia. And then, as you said, in the 11th hour, I was actually up in Philly for this past February. There's going to be a jury trial in this civil case. It was 3 employees from the city of Philadelphia. One of them, the original medical examiner for the Ellen Greenberg case. And on the eve of that trial, the medical examiner, a guy named Dr. Marlon Osborne, came out and said, listen, it was not a suicide. It was anything but a suicide, is essentially how he put it. And then the city was supposed to do this quote-unquote expeditious investigation to a case that has never been investigated, and they've completely dragged their feet. And so a judge recently just bashed the city of Philadelphia. And now, as you said, there's a new hearing on October 14th where we can expect to see the judge exert even more pressure. The city of Philadelphia is really in the spotlight here. And this has tentacles all the way up to Governor Josh Shapiro. So this is a very interesting, very complex case, again, that has never been investigated since 2011.
Right. It seems to me from watching some of the docuseries, I got through 2 episodes. I thought it was excellent last night. It seems that the investigators who responded initially took the word of Sam Goldberg, the fiance, that this was a suicide and she must have killed herself. It seems to me that this was bungled from the outset and it was treated as a suicide, not as a homicide scene. And this whole apartment should have been processed, photographed, all of these things. When these things weren't done and it was released back to the property manager, and she had a professional cleaning company come in, and the docuseries talks about how Sam Goldberg's uncle came in to take devices from the apartment. I was horrified because we know this disrupts chain of custody. It does all sorts of improper things in terms of getting to whether it was a homicide, suicide, accident, what have you. Joel, backing up just a moment, when we talk about the packing of the bag and getting ready to leave, and you said her dad also said his theory is that she was strangled to death and that the wounds were staged. Does that make sense to you based on what you've seen from the reporting about the depth of the knife in the various wounds and the placement of the wounds? We even have a drawing, I believe, that shows where the knife would have gone. This is just awful to see. Oh, and we're almost out of time. Joel, quick final thoughts on that.
The short answer is it could make sense. That is what Josh Greenberg thinks happened. I mean, she was stabbed 20 times, as you said, 10 to the front, 10 to the back. This gash comes out of nowhere. And also, there was at least 11 bruises on her body, which the father believes relates to domestic violence.
Suffered from beatings. Joel, we're going to talk another